But let's talk about some drama in Major League Baseball, because we had major drama in the Yankees and Blue Jays series almost every single day. But let's start with Monday. You kind of addressed it earlier this week in a podcast with Aaron Judge, peeking over to the dugout right before he hits a home run. But more info has come out since then.
Alex, this entire series has just been madness. And the rivalry that is clearly just continues to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is becoming one of, if not the best, I can't call it the best rivalry.
It just must-watch TV is what
it is becoming must-watch TV. But it doesn't start with this series. This new budding, blossoming rivalry needs a bit of a backstory to understand it all. So in November of last year, if you remember, Vladdy Jr. said in an interview, I like to play in New York. I like to kill the Yankees. I would never sign with the Yankees, not even dead, is what he said in November.
I forgot about that.
Then, in the offseason, ace of the Toronto Blue Jays, Alek Manoah, on NBA star Serge Ibaka's show, said, when asked who's the biggest cheater in baseball history, said Garrett Cole was his answer for who is the biggest cheater in baseball history. Did he say why? He went on to talk about Spider Tack and I think did like an example with baseball and how but regardless, for the answer to be Garrett Cole seems a little bit crazy. And then we get this series. And on Monday, Aaron Judge hits 2 home runs. Right before he hits the second one, he's caught on the Blue Jays broadcast. The cameras caught him peeking over. I talked about this a ton on Wednesday, the whole process. We all know, look, he was caught peeking over at the dugout. The Toronto Blue Jays broadcast called him out, and while saying, now we don't want to start anything, they started something, and then he immediately hit a home run. And I talked all about this. It is clear what's happening. The pitcher was tipping. This is a new thing that came out. When I talked about this Wednesday, we hadn't yet known. But the pitcher came out and said he was tipping. So guess what? The dugout was picking something up.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he was looking at. Alex, his post-game comments of, hey, I was just checking in on my teammates to see who was chirping the umpire. I mean, come on.
But, okay, let's be honest here. Let's talk about, like, Aaron Judge, the person, right? There are certain players that would come out and say certain things. Like, also when he hit the home run and he points to the outfield who was chirping at him the whole game, too.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't pointing to the fans. I was pointing to our bullpen for doing a good job.
For doing a good job after.
No. No. So, A, he's a bad liar. Okay, we can just, like, put that out there. But also, it's not in his character to actually call that out. Like, certain players would be like, oh yeah, I was just giving it back to the fans. They were chirping me all game. I was giving it back to them. But for Judge, he almost kind of has to have this very politically correct kind of persona as the Yankees captain. And that's just kind of who he is as well. He's not going to go out of line, but clearly we know what's happening. It is so obvious in both of those incidences exactly what is happening.
Do you think, Alex, that Aaron Judge is saying these things thinking he's being slick and that people believe what he's saying? Or I could see this being him and his personality. Do you think he's saying these things intentionally being funny, knowing people know what's going on? But he obviously, I don't think he can come out and say, we had his pitches. I was looking over in the dugout, because you can't say that. So what do you say? Obviously, he was caught off guard. Yeah. Do you think he says
that
these
was
things?
Good on your feet, though.
No, it was
Think
good
about that.
But, like, clearly it's not true. So do you think he's saying these things knowing, like, you know, this is a big comical? Or do you think he thinks people believe it?
I think he thinks people believe it. No. I don't know him personally, though, so I don't know if he's like a goofy, like sarcastic guy, because then that's a whole different scenario. I also don't know sarcasm. Like, I'm really bad at that. I believe everything. I am super gullible. I believe anything and everything people tell me.
So one of the other things that you mentioned that just clearly aren't the home run, he hit another home run. Yeah. Later in the series, after all of this was happening, and there's more to cover in this series, but after a Domingo Germán ejection due to sticky stuff, we'll get into that as well, but he hit a home run, and ends up pointing out to the right field crowd that was giving him a ton of shit all game long for just calling him cheater, yelling at him. He hits a home run, and guess what he does? He points out to the outfield, points out there, and after the game, they ask, who are you pointing at? He says, I was pointing at our bullpen for doing a good job coming in and getting the job done after Domingo Germán got ejected. No, you weren't. You weren't.
No, it's lies. It's lies.
I love it. If he's intentionally, I think it's even better if he's just like coming up with these crazy things. I think it's great. But more in this series, Alex, after that situation on Monday, of course, the drama just had to get more and more because obviously the two teams the Blue Jays specifically looked into this.
Yeah.
And they ended up reaching out to Major League Baseball saying the Yankees coaches in the boxes are way too far out of position. The third base coach and the first base coach, too far out of position. They reach out to Major League Baseball about this. Okay, whatever. But the next day, in the third inning of this game, the Blue Jays started just screaming at the third base coach for the Yankees because he was too far out of the box. John Schneider starts yelling at him. Another coach in the dugout, they just start yelling at the guy, and then tensions start flaring. The Yankees dugout starts yelling. John Schneider sees them yelling. He looks over and tells somebody in the dugout to shut up, fat boy.
I can't.
He goes, shut up, fat boy, to the Yankees dugout. Who was he even talking about?
It is so good. This is the drama that we need in Major League Baseball and rivalries in between teams. I am here for all of this. I love all of this. It's petty. It's fun. It gives us something to talk about. But it's also heated. Like, it's fun and heated games.
This says Brad Wilkerson was the target of shut up, fat boy comment. Heard good-natured ribbing pretty much all day from Yankees players and staff, but it did irk plenty. As one member of the traveling party said of Schneider, he should look in the mirror.
Ooh.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, they were cutting deep. They were just trying to get at each other. It was beautiful.
Oh, my God. And then, of course, Alex, the very next inning, to start the bottom of the fourth inning, heading out to the mound, Domingo Germán, who earlier in the year had the sticky stuff incident where he wasn't ejected but was pretty dang close, ends up getting ejected for sticky stuff right after the shut up fat boy comment to the team. Just insane what was going on here. The umpire ended up saying after, it was extremely shiny and extremely sticky, and this is my favorite quote, maybe ever in baseball, it was the stickiest hand I've ever felt. This just keeps getting absolutely ridiculous. But I will say, Domingo Germán, did it look like he was using more? Sure. But I will say here, as long as we continue to have no guidelines in baseball with this sticky stuff, and it's just objective and an umpire saying, well, that's the stickiest hand I've ever felt, you're out of here. We gotta fix this. We have to fix it. And do I believe Domingo Germán might have been using something a little more than just rosin? Maybe. Yes, probably. It looked like it. But until we set the guidelines, we're just going to continue to have this exact same conversation, which is, well, maybe he was doing too much, maybe he wasn't. We got to figure that out.
They have to have some sort of, like, substance testing strips.
Like swab his hand.
Right? Yeah, just kind of... We all know about swabs over the last couple of years. You can find out anything within 15 minutes on a swab. So, yeah, there needs to be some, we did a deep dive in this a couple weeks ago. There needs to be some sort of process, like a put in place process.
There's just currently no process in place to check stickiness other than feeling it. You remember in the playoffs last year when they just went out and caressed Joe Musgrove's ears on the mound?
Oh my gosh.
Like, I think he's fine.
Yeah.
Just take a swab, check it, check his hand, run it through a system, and if it's over a certain level of stickiness, eject him.
Yeah.
But I do like, if we keep getting these quotes of, well, that was the stickiest hand I've ever felt, you know what? I'm all for it. Let's keep the current process.
But it's also a big deal. Like, if you get ejected for it, then you have to be out X amount of games.
And a fine.
And a fine. So that's a big deal. Yep. So it's only fair to the players to make it some sort of like, this is exactly what happens if this happens.
Yep. So
But
just quite the series.
I love it. I want more of this.
This rivalry is going nowhere. The Jays are going to be good for a long time. The Yankees are the Yankees. This is we got drama every game this series. So this is great stuff. I loved every second of it.